Imagine walking down a narrow, winding path, the last rays of the sun fading behind distant hills. The air carries the faint scent of smoke and wood, mingled with the earthy aroma of freshly tilled soil. Ahead, the medieval village slowly comes into view, its cobblestone streets lined with humble cottages, their thatched roofs glowing faintly under the warm light of hearth fires. The silence of the approaching night is punctuated only by the distant bleating of sheep and the occasional crowing of a rooster lingering too late into the evening. As you step into the village, the subtle sounds of life unfold around you. A blacksmith's hammer rings softly in the background, shaping iron with rhythmic precision. Children chase one another in a dusty yard, their laughter echoing off the walls of nearby cottages. A baker, still tending his wood-fired oven, slides a fresh loaf of bread across the stone countertop, steam curling into the cool evening air. These small, ordinary moments, simple as they seem, hold the rhythm of life in this medieval world. The village is not large. A few dozen families live here, bound together by shared labor, trust, and the ever-present uncertainty of survival. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys, revealing that supper preparations are underway. Women stir large wooden bowls filled with hearty stews, while men mend tools or gather firewood for the long night ahead. Every action is careful and deliberate, each sound and movement blending seamlessly into the quiet symphony of the village at dusk. You notice the uneven cobblestones underfoot, worn smooth by generations of footsteps. Each stone seems to carry the weight of countless stories, whispers of market disputes, quiet confessions shared by lovers, and the laughter of children long past. The village well, its pulley creaking gently, is a hub of gossip and fleeting encounters. Nearby, a small wooden bridge arches over a trickling stream, reflecting the fading colors of the sky above. Above all, there is a sense of anticipation. The day has ended, and the night will bring both calm and mystery. Shadows stretch across walls, flickering with the movement of torches and lanterns. The villagers move with a quiet purpose, preparing for the darkness that will soon envelop the streets. And as you stand at the heart of this medieval village, you realize that tonight you will see what life truly felt like after the sun had set, where every flicker of light tells a story and every whisper of wind carries the secrets of generations. Stepping further into the heart of the village, the narrow lanes widen into the main street, where life slows to a gentle rhythm as night settles. Wooden shutters begin to close on the cottages, their small windows glowing faintly with flickering candlelight. The cobblestones beneath your feet are worn and uneven, each one telling a silent story of countless travelers, merchants, and villagers who have walked this path before. Along the street, the murmur of quiet conversation drifts from the doors of homes. A mother rocks her infant gently by the fire, humming a tune that has been passed down for generations. Nearby, two elderly men sit on a wooden bench outside a tavern, sharing tales of hunts, battles, and long-forgotten winters. Their voices are low, measured, blending seamlessly with the gentle rustle of leaves and the occasional clatter of a horse's hoof. The scent of bread, herbs, and smoke mingle in the cool night air. A baker carries a basket of freshly baked loaves, nodding politely to neighbors as he passes. Children, now sleepy from a day of games and chores, peek from behind doorways, their eyes wide with curiosity as you walk past. Every corner of the street seems alive with subtle movement, yet the overall atmosphere remains calm, almost reverent, as if the village itself breathes in quiet harmony with the setting sun. You notice the blacksmith's forge at the far end of the street. Though the day's main work has ended, a single hammer taps rhythmically against iron, a lingering echo in the otherwise tranquil evening. Sparks flicker from the fire, dancing briefly before fading into the cool night air. It's a reminder that even in the stillness of night, life continues, small, purposeful, and enduring. As you stroll further, the village well stands at a central intersection, its wooden bucket dangling silently. The water within reflects the dim glow of lanterns, and you can see the faint shadow of the watchman passing by, his cloak brushing the cobblestones. Though nothing dramatic occurs, there is a steady tension in the quiet. The night is full of potential, of stories waiting to unfold, of secrets held in the shadows of cottages and behind closed doors. Above, the first stars begin to twinkle against the deepening blue of the night sky. A soft wind carries the smell of wildflowers from nearby fields and the distant sound of an owl calling from the forest edge. In this stillness, you begin to feel the heartbeat of the village, the small, intimate life of a medieval community moving gently through the darkness, guided by routine, necessity, and quiet human connection. As you continue down the main street, the rhythmic clanging of metal draws your attention to a small workshop at the corner. A plume of smoke curls lazily from the forge, carrying the faint smell of burning coal mixed with hot iron. This is the blacksmith's domain, a place of heat, labor, and quiet mastery. Though the day's busiest hours have passed, a single figure works steadily, hammering a glowing piece of iron on an anvil, sparks flying like tiny fireflies into the evening air. The blacksmith is a broad-shouldered man, his hands calloused and strong from years of shaping tools, horseshoes, and utensils for the village. Sweat glistens on his brow, though the night is cool, and the orange glow of the forge reflects on his focused face. Each strike of the hammer is deliberate, precise, a silent rhythm that seems to echo through the emptying streets. You notice the care with which he checks the iron's heat, adjusting it in the flames, shaping it not with haste, but with patient skill. Nearby, tools hang in perfect order on wooden racks, hammers, tongs, chisels, and files, each one worn yet cared for. The smell of iron and coal mingles with the scent of oiled leather from the bellows. Occasionally, the blacksmith pauses to examine his work, wiping his brow with the back of a sooty hand, and then resumes with methodical determination. In this small workshop, you can almost feel the heartbeat of the village itself, a life sustained by craft, tradition, and quiet dedication. Through the open doorway, you can see a small apprentice, perhaps 12 or 13 years old, sweeping shavings from the floor and observing the master at work. The apprentice's eyes shine with curiosity and reverence. He is learning the secret rhythms of this ancient trade, one careful step at a time. The blacksmith occasionally speaks softly, offering a word of instruction or encouragement, a gentle reminder that knowledge and skill are passed down patiently, generation by generation. Even in the stillness of night, the forge is alive. Sparks flare and fade, the hammer rises and falls, and the subtle hum of activity is a quiet testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. Outside, the village sleeps under a canopy of stars, but here, within this workshop, history is alive, a rhythm of work, fire, and craft that has endured for centuries. As you step away from the blacksmith's forge, the glow fades behind you, leaving only the soft shadows of cottages and the whisper of the evening wind. The village night continues, full of life in subtle, unspoken ways, and you realize that each small act, each quiet rhythm, is part of a larger story waiting to be uncovered. As you continue your gentle stroll down the quiet village street, the warm, comforting aroma of baking bread draws you to a small cottage near the square. A thin wisp of steam escapes from a wooden door, curling into the night air like a soft whisper. This is the baker's home and workshop, the heart of the village's simple sustenance. Even as the evening deepens, the baker works with care, tending the wood-fired oven where loaves of bread slowly rise, golden and fragrant. Inside, the small kitchen is alive with quiet motion. Flour dusts the wooden tables and settles softly on the floor, shimmering faintly in the glow of the fire. The baker, a stout man with a warm, kind expression, kneads dough with practiced hands, stretching and folding it rhythmically. Each movement is deliberate, honed by years of repetition, yet there is a gentle artistry in the way he shapes every loaf. Beside him, a young apprentice carefully measures ingredients, watching each action with keen attention. The smell of baking bread mixes with the subtle scent of herbs and honey stored in clay jars along the shelves. Loaves are arranged in neat rows, ready to be taken to the small market stall outside in the morning. Even in the stillness of night, the baker moves with quiet purpose, aware that the village depends on this simple craft for nourishment and comfort. A small fire crackles in the corner, sending sparks upward, illuminating the lines of care etched into the baker's face and highlighting the steady pulse of life that continues even after dusk. Through the open window, you catch glimpses of villagers preparing for the evening. A mother carries a basket of fresh eggs, children peek curiously at the glowing kitchen, and the sound of distant laughter carries softly on the night air. Every element, the smell of bread, the flickering firelight, the gentle hum of labor, forms a rich tapestry of life that is both ordinary and profoundly human. As you step back into the cool night, the aroma lingers, a reminder that even in darkness there is warmth and sustenance. The baker wipes his hands on a flour-dusted apron and offers a quiet nod to those passing by. In this medieval village, each simple act, kneading dough, tending fire, shaping bread, is part of a larger rhythm, a delicate dance that keeps the community alive, nourished, and quietly thriving. The main street stretches onward, the lanterns flickering as shadows deepen. You continue your walk, carrying with you the soft glow and warmth of the baker's hearth, ready to discover more stories that the night holds in every corner of this medieval village. As the village begins to settle into the soft embrace of night, you notice a group of children lingering near the square. The fading light casts long shadows across the cobblestones, and their laughter, light and playful, carries through the quiet evening. Despite the cool air of approaching night, they chase one another in a game of tag, their small feet kicking up dust and gentle clouds that shimmer in the glow of lanterns. The children's clothing is simple, patched in places, but well cared for. Their faces, flushed with the excitement of play, reflect innocence and joy, untouched by the harshness that often defines life in this medieval village. One boy stops briefly to catch his breath, leaning against a wooden fence, while a girl twirls, her dress spinning around her in a whirl of fabric and dust. Their giggles mingle with the faint rustling of leaves in the evening breeze, creating a melody both soothing and alive. Nearby, a dog trots lazily along, occasionally barking at a stray cat darting through the shadows. Chickens cluck and peck at scraps near the edges of the square, while a faint sound of hooves echoes from the distant stable. Even in their play, the children mimic the adult world around them, pretending to cook, to trade, to work, learning, absorbing, and imagining the life they will one day fully inhabit. A gentle wind carries the scent of freshly cut herbs from nearby gardens, and a few fireflies begin their quiet dance in the twilight. The children pause momentarily to watch the tiny lights flicker like stars brought down to the earth.
In these moments, time seems to stretch, allowing the night to fully settle around the village, while the small human dramas of life continue in playful harmony. As their laughter gradually softens and the game slows, parents emerge from nearby cottages, calling the children to supper and warmth by the fire. One by one, they retreat, leaving only quiet echoes behind. The cobblestone square, now empty, holds the memory of laughter, the soft footprints of tiny shoes, and the faint sparkle of fireflies hovering in the last light of dusk. Walking past, you feel the pulse of life in this village, the continuity of generations, and the way each small joy, each fleeting moment, becomes a thread in the larger fabric of medieval existence. The night deepens, and the village prepares to rest, but the echoes of innocence linger, quietly reminding you that even in darkness, life thrives in subtle, beautiful ways.
The square, now silent after the children's laughter has faded, becomes the quiet gathering place for those who linger near the village well. Its wooden bucket sways gently, reflecting the flickering light of nearby lanterns and the last embers from cottage hearths. Though the night is calm, the well is alive in its own subtle way, carrying whispered stories, quiet chuckles, and the soft creak of rope as water is drawn for supper or evening chores. A few villagers gathered nearby, leaning casually against the stone edge. An elderly woman adjusts her shawl and speaks in a low voice about the day's events, who helped mend the barn roof, whose oxen strayed into the fields, and what small mischiefs the children had played. Her words ripple softly through the night, reaching ears eager for news, blending with the distant song of a nightingale and the occasional clatter of a loose shutter swaying in the wind. Across the square, a young man carries a pail of water, carefully stepping over the uneven cobblestones. He nods politely to those lingering, offering a quiet smile before moving to fill the wells at neighboring homes. The simple rhythm of drawing water, exchanging a few words, and returning home creates a gentle heartbeat for the village, a pulse that continues even as darkness thickens. Nearby, a small group of women gathers, murmuring about the coming harvest and the preparations for the next day's market. Their hands are busy folding cloth, tying herbs into bundles, or adjusting the lids on clay jars. Their voices are soft, blending with the ambient sounds of the night, the rustle of leaves, the distant lowing of cows, and the faint creak of the windmill's blades turning slowly in the breeze. Each sound and whisper forms a subtle symphony that makes the village feel alive without disturbing its serene calm. Above, the first stars pierce the deepening blue sky, their light reflecting in the still water of the well. The villagers pause to watch the faint glimmer, their faces soft in the glow, before resuming their quiet conversations. In these moments, the village reveals its secret rhythm, the ordinary daily acts of life, sharing news, drawing water, preparing for night, woven together into a tapestry of subtle, enduring humanity. As you step away from the well, the echoes of whispered stories and gentle movements follow you down the cobblestone street. The village night continues, rich with life hidden in shadows, and you realize that even in the quietest corners, history lives, through every gesture, every soft word, and every flickering light. Leaving the quiet of the village well behind, your footsteps carry you toward the small chapel at the edge of the square. Though modest in size, its wooden doors are worn smooth by generations of hands, and a single lantern sways gently beside the entrance, casting dancing shadows across the cobblestones. The evening air is cool, and the soft murmur of prayers drifts faintly from within, blending with the distant rustle of leaves and the low murmur of villagers finishing their chores. Inside the chapel, a few families kneel in silence, their heads bowed as candles flicker along the simple wooden altar. The scent of beeswax and incense fills the air, a subtle reminder of devotion and ritual. Villagers offer whispered prayers for health, safety, and the well-being of loved ones, each voice contributing to a quiet symphony of faith that lingers in the dim light. Children sit patiently beside their parents, their small hands folded in imitation, learning the traditions and rhythms of their community. Outside, the village carries on around the chapel. A lantern sways on the main street, reflecting off the worn cobblestones. Smoke curls from chimneys, carrying the faint aroma of evening meals still simmering on hearths. The night deepens, but life continues in soft, deliberate gestures. A villager adjusting a bundle of firewood, a watchman making his rounds, a blacksmith extinguishing the last coals of the forge. Each action, each movement flows in harmony with the gentle cadence of evening prayers. From the chapel, the faint sound of a bell rings once, marking the transition from day to night. It is not a call to alarm, but a gentle reminder that the village is preparing to rest, to let the darkness carry away the day's labors. You notice a few villagers pausing in the streets to bow their heads or cross themselves, small signs of devotion that speak to the enduring human need for reflection and comfort. As you walk past the chapel and return to the main street, the quiet rituals of the evening leave an impression. Even in the simplest gestures, the lighting of a candle, the murmured prayer, the pause to reflect, the medieval village reveals the depth of its culture and humanity. Night deepens the streets, and with every flicker of firelight and whisper of wind, the village continues to breathe, its history alive in both the sacred and the ordinary moments of life. As the faint echoes of evening prayers fade from the chapel, the villagers turn their attention to the comforting routine of supper. Smoke curls from chimneys across the main street, carrying the rich aroma of roasting meats, simmering stews, and freshly baked bread. The warm glow of hearth fires spills from cottage windows, hinting at families gathered around tables, preparing to break their evening meal together. Inside a modest kitchen, a woman stirs a large pot of barley and vegetables, her movements steady and practiced. The fire crackles beneath the iron cauldron, sending tiny sparks floating upward, briefly illuminating the stone walls. Beside her, a child carefully places slices of bread into a basket, making sure none are burnt, while a man carries a bundle of herbs from the garden to flavor the stew. The rhythm of chopping, stirring, and carrying creates a quiet, soothing melody, a signal that even the simplest tasks carry weight and purpose in village life. Outside, the scent of roasting meat drifts through the cobblestone streets. A young boy tends a small spit over an open flame, turning it slowly while humming a soft tune his grandmother once sang. The glow of the fire reflects in his wide, eager eyes, capturing both curiosity and pride in contributing to the evening meal. From nearby cottages, the faint laughter of children spills into the street, mingling with the sounds of chopping wood and the occasional clatter of dishes. In the market square, a few villagers exchange small goods for the evening supper: eggs, cheese, and a handful of herbs. Each transaction is simple and purposeful, done quietly, without hurry, respecting the calm that has settled over the village. The sense of community is palpable, neighbors helping neighbors, sharing ingredients, and preparing together for the night ahead. As the sky deepens into navy, dotted with the first stars of the night, lanterns glow softly from doorways. The village slows, the pace gentle, and every movement feels deliberate yet peaceful. Preparing for supper is more than filling hungry stomachs. It is a ritual that reinforces the bonds of family and community, a time of warmth, care, and continuity in the quiet medieval night. You walk past the cottages, feeling the life of the village pulse through these small acts. The night carries on, rich with the smells, sounds, and quiet routines that define medieval life, reminding you that even in darkness, ordinary moments hold extraordinary significance. After supper, the village settles further into the night. A few villagers gather near the hearth of the town square, where the warm glow of lanterns illuminates the weathered faces of elders. Their eyes, soft yet sharp with memory, hold the weight of decades spent in this same cobblestone village. Children, now calm and wide-eyed from the day's adventures, sit cross-legged at their feet, eager to hear tales of times long past. The eldest among them, a man with a silvered beard and deep-set eyes, begins to speak. His voice is low, deliberate, carrying both authority and comfort. He tells of winters when snow piled high against cottage walls, of summers when the harvest nearly failed, and of brave villagers who faced threats from both man and wild. Each word is measured, a careful weaving of history and legend, teaching lessons in resilience, courage, and community. Nearby, a woman nods gently, adding details about festivals, songs, and traditions that shaped the rhythm of village life. She speaks of long evenings by the hearth, of music made from simple instruments, and of dances that celebrated the turning of the seasons. The children listen intently, some wide-eyed in wonder, others quietly imagining themselves as characters within these old stories. Even the adults pause, letting the voices of memory and experience fill the quiet night. Outside the circle, the soft rustle of leaves and distant calls of nocturnal birds underscore the scene, blending naturally with the crackling of a small fire in the square. Lantern light flickers against cobblestones, creating shadows that move like ghosts of the past. It feels as though the village itself leans closer, listening to the stories that define it. The elders speak of both joy and hardship, of love and loss, weaving human experience into the tapestry of medieval life. Every story reminds the listeners, young and old alike, of the delicate balance of survival and community, the enduring importance of kindness, and the quiet heroism of ordinary people. As the night deepens, the stories leave behind a lingering warmth, a shared memory that binds the villagers together even as they prepare to retreat to their homes and beds. Walking past the circle of storytellers, you feel the weight of history and the gentle pulse of life in this medieval village. Night deepens, but the stories continue to live, carried quietly in the hearts of those who hear them, a reminder that even in darkness, knowledge and tradition endure. As the elders' stories drift into silence and the last embers of the evening fire glow softly, a different rhythm of life begins to stir in a small cottage at the edge of the village. The healer, an older woman with hands worn from decades of tending to wounds and sickness, moves quietly through her workshop. Her lantern casts a warm, flickering light over jars of herbs, dried flowers, and carefully labeled powders lining the shelves. Each container holds the promise of relief, care, or comfort, and each is a testament to knowledge passed down through generations. Tonight, she tends to a young child whose cough has lingered through the day. She gently lifts the boy into her arms, murmuring soothing words as she prepares a simple herbal poultice. The sound of her soft voice blends with the distant night, the gentle hum of insects, and the occasional clatter of a door shutter swaying in the wind. She works slowly, deliberately, knowing that her care is as much about reassurance as it is about medicine. A small apprentice watches silently from a corner, notebook in hand, recording remedies and instructions. The apprentice's eyes are wide with focus, absorbing every movement, every whispered explanation. The healer occasionally glances at the young observer with a faint smile, understanding the weight of teaching a new generation the delicate art of caring for others. Outside the window, the village sleeps, yet the healer's presence reminds you that life in village, though calm and peaceful, is full of unseen efforts, small acts of dedication that weave the invisible threads holding the medieval night together. By the time she lays the child gently back into bed, the healer pauses for a moment, listening to the wind and the distant sounds of the village at rest. Every small act of care in this quiet night contributes to the village's heartbeat, a rhythm of compassion and resilience that quietly sustains the community. As you step away from the healer's cottage, the moon casts a silver glow over the streets, illuminating the cobblestones and rooftops. Life in the village, though calm and peaceful, is full of unseen efforts, small acts of dedication that weave the invisible threads holding the medieval night together. As the healer's cottage falls silent and the village settles into deeper stillness, a faint clatter echoes from the main street. The old wooden door of the inn creaks as it opens, admitting a lone traveler cloaked in a heavy mud-streaked coat. His boots strike the cobblestones with a soft thud, drawing curious glances from the innkeeper who leans from the doorway, lantern in hand. The stranger's face is shadowed beneath a hood, and though his presence is quiet, it carries a subtle tension, a ripple through the calm of the medieval night. The inn is small but warm, its hearth blazing with firelight that flickers across the wooden beams. The innkeeper, a stout man with kind eyes, gestures for the traveler to enter. The traveler steps inside, brushing dust from his coat, and takes a moment to absorb the cozy glow of the common room. Around him, a few late-arriving villagers sip small cups of cider or settle into quiet conversation, glancing curiously at the newcomer before returning to their routine. The innkeeper moves with practiced ease, offering the traveler a steaming bowl of broth and a loaf of freshly baked bread. The visitor accepts silently, settling at a corner table near the fire. As he eats, the soft murmur of voices around him blends with the crackle of flames and the occasional creak of the building settling in the cool night air. Though he says little, his eyes scan the room with quiet awareness, observing the villagers, their movements, and the rhythm of the inn itself. Outside, the moon casts a silver glow over the cobblestone streets, illuminating rooftops and casting elongated shadows. The inn's lantern light spills onto the path, guiding any late traveler safely through the village. Though the inn is small, it serves as a center of hospitality and quiet community, a place where stories can be shared, travelers welcomed, and the pulse of village life continues even after dusk. The stranger finishes his meal, offering a faint nod of thanks to the innkeeper, and settles back in his chair. The warmth of the fire reflects off his face, revealing a trace of weariness and a depth of experience. He is a reminder that even in a village wrapped in calm and tradition, the world beyond continues, bringing new stories, unknown travelers, and subtle hints of adventure into the quiet medieval night. As the stranger settles in the warmth of the inn, a soft wind sweeps through the village, rustling the leaves of nearby trees and carrying the faint scent of herbs from garden patches. High above, on the village walls, the night watch begins their quiet patrol. Cloaked in shadows, two guards move steadily along the wooden parapets, their footsteps muffled against the planks, eyes scanning the moonlit landscape for any sign of movement beyond the village. From this vantage point, the village appears almost dreamlike. Lanterns flicker softly from cottages below, casting golden pools of light across the cobblestones. The blacksmith's forge, now dark, stands silent, and the baker's kitchen glows faintly, hinting at the warmth and activity within. Even the children's square, empty and still, retains traces of their earlier laughter in the form of scattered leaves and the faint sparkle of fireflies hovering above.
The guards speak in hushed tones, exchanging observations about the surrounding fields and forests. A distant howl of a wolf carries on the wind, causing one of them to pause briefly and peer into the darkness beyond the walls. They note the rhythm of the village. All is quiet, but life continues. Soft footsteps of late returnees, the occasional clatter of a shutter, and the gentle creak of the windmill turning lazily in the night. Occasionally, they nod towards cottages where a candle flickers late into the night, aware of the families inside tending to small tasks or reading by lamplight. The patrol is not of urgency, but of vigilance, a quiet guardianship that ensures the village sleeps safely. Every step along the wooden planks, every glance toward the horizon reinforces a sense of security and continuity, a reminder that even in darkness, careful watch preserves life and peace. Below, the inn glows like a small heart in the village, where travelers and locals alike find warmth and rest. Above, the stars glimmer faintly in the deep indigo sky, mirrored by the faint reflection in the moat that surrounds the village walls. The night watch continues, steady and unobtrusive, their presence a silent promise that the rhythms of the village, work, play, prayer, and care, can continue undisturbed until dawn. Descending the steps to rejoin the quiet streets, the guards leave behind only the echo of their careful footsteps. The village, cloaked in moonlight and lantern glow, seems to breathe softly, alive with stories and routines, past and present, all flowing together in the calm embrace of a medieval night.
Beyond the glow of the village walls, the forest stretches into darkness, its dense trees casting long shadows under the silver light of the moon. The night is alive with soft whispers. Leaves rustle as a gentle breeze passes through. Branches sway, and the distant call of an owl echoes between the trunks. Even in the stillness, the forest feels watchful, as if it holds secrets from centuries past, waiting patiently for those who dare to wander within. A narrow path leads from the village edge into the woods, where travelers occasionally pass or villagers fetch firewood. Tonight, the path is empty, save for the faint footprints of animals and the quiet scurry of a hedgehog through fallen leaves. The moonlight filters through the canopy, creating patterns of silver and shadow that dance across the forest floor. Each step is cushioned by moss and fallen foliage, muffling sound and amplifying the hush of midnight. The air is cool and carries the earthy scent of damp soil, pine needles, and wild herbs. Occasionally, the rustle of a small animal, a rabbit perhaps, or a fox, disturbs the silence for a brief moment before it retreats into the shadows. The forest is not threatening, but it is alive with unseen movement, a living entity that the villagers respect and revere. Farther along the path, the faint glow of a lantern flickers from a small hunting cabin, its smoke curling into the night sky. A lone figure moves carefully near the door, checking traps set earlier in the day and ensuring that no mischief from the wild disrupts the village's safety. The quiet diligence of this solitary night worker mirrors the calm vigilance on the village walls, each silently protecting the community in their own way. Above, stars glimmer through gaps in the dense canopy, creating a faint celestial map that has guided villagers and travelers for generations. The forest at midnight feels both ancient and intimate, a space where time stretches and the rhythms of nature move in harmony with the sleeping village nearby. Every sound, every shadow carries meaning, a subtle reminder of the balance between human life and the natural world surrounding it. As you trace the path back toward the village, the forest gradually recedes, giving way to open fields that lead to the lantern-lit streets. The night carries its quiet magic, a bridge between the familiar warmth of the village and the mysterious expanse beyond, where stories, creatures, and hidden wonders linger under the gaze of the moon. As the forest fades behind you, wide open fields stretch under the silver glow of the moon. The tall grasses sway gently in the night breeze, creating waves that ripple like water across the landscape. Crickets chirp rhythmically, blending with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl, forming a gentle nighttime symphony that carries far into the quiet village beyond. The fields are alive with the subtle presence of creatures adapted to the darkness. Rabbits dart softly among the tufts of grass, their white tails flashing briefly in the moonlight. Deer move gracefully, pausing to nibble at tender shoots, their ears twitching at the faintest sound. A fox slips silently between shadows, its amber eyes catching the reflection of moonlight as it hunts for a midnight meal. Each movement is careful, deliberate, perfectly attuned to the rhythms of night. Along the edges of the fields, hedgerows and stone walls create natural pathways, guiding small animals and providing shelter. The wind carries the faint scent of wildflowers and damp earth, mingling with the aroma of hay from nearby barns. Occasionally, a barn owl glides silently across the open sky, wings spread wide, scanning the fields below for signs of life. The harmony of predator and prey unfolds quietly, a timeless ritual that is played out for generations under the same moon. In the distance, the lanterns of the village glow faintly, reminding you of the warmth and safety just beyond the fields. Yet the wildness of the open land holds a quiet charm, a world that moves according to its own rules, where life continues uninterrupted, and each creature, no matter how small, plays its part in the ecosystem of the night. A narrow dirt path winds through the fields, leading back toward the village. You follow it slowly, absorbing the subtle beauty of moonlit stalks, the glimmer of dew on leaves, and the occasional rustle of animals hidden in shadows. The night is calm, almost hypnotic, and each step carries you closer to the familiar warmth and lights of the village. The moon hangs high above, casting silver reflections across the fields, illuminating both the wildlife and the way home. In these quiet moments, the village and the surrounding lands exist together in balance. Human and nature, activity and stillness, warmth and shadow, all part of the medieval night, flowing seamlessly from one scene to the next. While the fields and forests lie quiet under the moonlight, the blacksmith's forge hums with a different kind of life. Inside the small stone building at the edge of the village, a single lantern glows near the workbench, illuminating the blacksmith's strong, calloused hands as they move with practiced precision. Sparks fly from the glowing metal, each one briefly lighting the dim room before fading into shadow. Though the village sleeps, the blacksmith works late into the night, repairing tools, sharpening blades, and shaping horseshoes for the coming day. The rhythm of hammer striping metal is steady and almost meditative, echoing softly through the surrounding streets. Outside, the cool night air carries the faint metallic scent of iron and coal, blending with the earthy aroma of nearby fields. Occasionally, the blacksmith pauses, wiping sweat from his brow, and gazes out the open door at the moonlit streets. The village is still, lanterns casting warm, flickering light on the cobblestones, while the distant silhouettes of cottages and gardens rest quietly. For a moment, the forge feels like a heartbeat in the calm of the medieval night, a small center of creation and labor that continues while others rest. A young apprentice sits nearby, observing every movement, ready to hand tools or hold metal in place. His eyes reflect both curiosity and awe, watching the blacksmith shape ordinary iron into instruments essential for daily life. There is a rhythm to the work, a knowledge passed from master to student, each strike a lesson in patience, skill, and the quiet dignity of labor. Outside the forge, the village animals move softly in the night, chickens tucked away, cats prowling for insects, and the occasional dog padding along a familiar path. Even in the stillness, life pulses gently, mirrored by the sparks flying within the forge. The blacksmith's work reminds you that not all life in a medieval village stops with the setting sun. Some tasks demand attention under the moon, ensuring that the rhythms of daily life can continue smoothly the next morning. As the hour deepens, the blacksmith finally sets down his hammer, allowing the embers in the forge to fade to a warm glow. He steps outside for a moment, inhaling the crisp night air and listening to the quiet village. The fields, the forest, and the cottages seem to hold their breath together, all of it part of a single living night, a medieval world wrapped in calm, care, and quiet purpose. While the blacksmith finally extinguishes his forge and steps into the cool night air, the inn remains gently alive with quiet activity. Lanterns sway in the windows, casting a soft glow over the cobblestone street, and inside, the innkeeper moves steadily between tables, tending to a few late visitors who have arrived after the day's main bustle. The first visitor is a weary traveler, his cloak damp from the evening mist. He settles onto a wooden bench near the fire, sighing softly as he removes his boots and rests his feet. The innkeeper, a stout man with a warm smile, pours a mug of steaming cider and places it before him. The faint aroma of bread and roasted meat mingles with the scent of smoke from the hearth, creating a comforting atmosphere that immediately eases the traveler's fatigue. A second guest enters quietly, a merchant who has been traveling from a distant town. He nods politely to the innkeeper and takes a corner seat, unpacking a small satchel of goods for tomorrow's market. The innkeeper listens carefully as the merchant recounts the day's journey in low tones, offering nods and soft questions. The conversation is calm, almost ceremonial, a blend of courtesy, routine, and quiet curiosity. Outside, the village sleeps under the silver moonlight, the streets hushed, except for the occasional flicker of a lantern or the distant bark of a dog. Inside, the inn offers warmth, companionship, and the subtle reassurance that even travelers passing through the village find comfort and care. The innkeeper moves from table to table, checking mugs, refilling bread baskets, and listening attentively, aware that the quiet service he provides is part of the village's heartbeat. A young apprentice scurries to fetch fresh firewood, placing it carefully in the hearth so the flames continue to flicker without overwhelming the room. The visitors murmur softly to each other, sharing fragments of stories, laughter, and observations from the road. Their voices are low, respectful of the sleeping village, but they add a subtle vitality to the inn's evening calm. As the night deepens, the innkeeper takes a moment to glance at the quiet streets outside, noting the glow of distant lanterns and the silhouette of the village walls against the starry sky. The inn, small and unassuming, continues to serve as a sanctuary, a place where warmth, sustenance, and stories meet,
quietly sustaining the rhythm of the medieval night.
While the inn hums softly with the last murmurs of its late visitors, the village watchman begins his silent rounds once again. Clad in a worn cloak, lantern swinging gently at his side, he moves along the cobblestone streets, each step deliberate, measured, and attuned to the quiet of midnight. The village sleeps, but his duty is constant, ensuring that the calm of night remains undisturbed. From the top of a small gatehouse, the watchman surveys the streets below. Lantern light spills over cottage rooftops, reflecting softly on windows and casting gentle shadows across the cobblestones. The moon hangs low in the sky, bathing the village in silver light, revealing glimpses of chimneys, gardens, and the faint outlines of villagers' belongings left outside their homes. Passing the inn, he notices the faint glow of the hearth and hears the subdued voices of travelers settling into their beds. He nods slightly to the innkeeper, a silent acknowledgement of the shared responsibility to keep the village safe. The air is crisp and carries the scent of smoke, herbs, and damp earth, a familiar blend that marks the rhythm of life in this medieval settlement. As he rounds the corner toward the village square, the watchman pauses, listening to distant sounds, the occasional hoot of an owl, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the faint scurry of nocturnal animals. A fox darts across a moonlit field just beyond the walls, disappearing into the shadows. These movements, though natural, serve as subtle reminders of the ever-present wilderness that surrounds the village and the vigilance required to maintain safety within its walls. The cobblestone paths beneath his boots creak softly, a muted echo that harmonizes with the gentle hum of the sleeping village. Each house he passes feels like a story frozen in time, shutters drawn, lanterns flickering in the windows, and the soft breathing of families tucked beneath heavy blankets. His presence is unobtrusive, yet essential, a silent guardian whose watch allows the village to rest, dream, and continue its rhythm uninterrupted. After completing his circuit of the main streets and village outskirts, he climbs a small hill near the gate, pausing to look over the moonlit landscape. Fields, forests, and cottages stretch out in all directions, unified under the calm blanket of night. Satisfied, he turns back toward the heart of the village, his lantern casting a golden path across the cobblestones, leaving only the whisper of his passage as proof of his midnight patrol. While the watchman completes his rounds, and the streets lie mostly silent, a faint murmur drifts from the small tavern near the edge of the village square. The tavern, modest yet welcoming, offers warmth, ale, and the subtle comfort of shared stories. Though the hour is late, a few villagers linger, speaking in hushed tones, careful not to disturb the sleeping homes around them. Inside, the flickering light of a hearth casts long shadows across rough-hewn wooden tables. A pair of merchants lean close together, their heads almost touching, exchanging news from distant towns. Their voices are quiet, each word deliberate, revealing fragments of commerce, intrigue, and rumors that ripple like small currents through the village. At another table, a traveling bard quietly tunes his lute, plucking a few gentle notes that float across the room like whispers of melody. The innkeeper moves among the tables, filling mugs and pouring ale with quiet efficiency. He listens carefully, aware that even the softest conversation can carry meaning, and that the tavern's walls have long served as a repository for both gossip and wisdom. A flicker of candlelight catches the eyes of a young villager who leans forward to listen intently, absorbing tales of distant cities, past harvests, and legendary happenings from travelers who pass through. From a corner, an older man speaks softly of a recent harvest festival, sharing lessons learned and the follies of past misadventures. His voice carries authority tempered with amusement, drawing nods and faint smiles from those who listen. Though no one speaks loudly, the exchange of knowledge, rumor, and story forms a quiet lifeline for the community.
reminding them that even at night, information flows and connections endure. Outside, the moon casts silver light across the cobblestones, reflecting faintly in the windows of the tavern. A soft breeze stirs the trees in the village square, mingling with the occasional laugh or cough from within. The tavern, small and unassuming, is alive with human presence, a place where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist, where secrets, advice, and news pass quietly from one listener to another, and where the pulse of village life continues despite the late hour. As the night deepens, the visitors slowly take their leave, stepping out into the cool air, their murmured conversations blending with the natural sounds of the village. The tavern grows quiet again, the embers glowing faintly, leaving only the subtle warmth of shared stories to linger in the calm medieval night.
While the tavern quiets and the last whispers of the night fade, the mill by the river continues its subtle rhythm, turning slowly under the pale moonlight. The miller, a stout man with a weathered face, steps out into the crisp night air, lantern in hand. His boots crunch softly against the riverbank as he makes his way toward the water wheel, which creaks and groans gently with each turn, reflecting the silver glow of the moon on its wet wooden paddles. The river itself is a quiet companion, flowing steadily, carrying the reflections of stars and lanterns across its rippling surface. The miller inspects the wheel carefully, checking for loose planks, tangled reeds, and the occasional driftwood lodged between paddles. His movements are methodical, honed over years of performing this essential task. Each turn of the wheel is a reminder of the village's dependence on the mill, a source of flour for bread, meal for porridge, and sustenance for countless families. From the distance, the village sleeps peacefully. Lanterns glow softly in windows, smoke rises lazily from chimneys, and the faint sound of an owl echoes across the fields. The miller works silently, a solitary figure in the moonlit landscape, yet his presence is crucial to the continuation of life in the village. Every careful adjustment ensures that the wheel turns smoothly until dawn, keeping the village nourished and safe from disruptions in daily needs. A small cat slinks around the base of the mill, brushing against the miller's legs and pausing to peer curiously at the moving wheel. Even this tiny companion seems attuned to the night's rhythm, weaving among the reeds and shadows as the miller hums a low, quiet tune, blending seamlessly with the sound of the flowing river and turning wheel. Satisfied that the wheel is secure and the water flows freely, the miller lingers a moment, gazing at the landscape beyond the river. Moonlight dances across fields and rooftops, reflecting the quiet harmony between human labor and nature. The village rests, the river continues its journey, and the wheel, simple, enduring, and essential, keeps time with the medieval night, linking the past, present, and future in the soft glow of moonlight. With a final glance, the miller steps back toward his cottage, the gentle creak of the wheel fading behind him. The night holds its quiet magic, a reminder that even in darkness, life, care, and purpose persist in every corner of the village. While the miller returns home and the water wheel turns quietly in the moonlight, a soft, lilting melody drifts through the village streets. A bard, young and energetic, carries a small lute as he moves between cottages, playing a gentle tune that dances through the still night. Each note carries across cobblestones, weaving between the glow of lanterns and the shadowed walls of cottages, bringing subtle life to an otherwise silent village. Villagers, long asleep in their homes, are stirred by the delicate music. From a window, a child peeks out, eyes wide, listening to the floating melody, while a few adults pause in their late chores, smiling quietly as the song winds its way past their homes. The bard walks slowly, letting the rhythm of the night guide him, playing tunes he learned from elders and songs inspired by the land around him. His music is soft, almost hypnotic, yet full of the rich emotion of village life, joy, struggle, love, and resilience. The moon casts silver light over rooftops and gardens, reflecting off his lute as his fingers dance over the strings. Occasionally, he stops to adjust his song, letting a few notes linger in the air, echoing softly off walls and fences. The quiet birds, foxes, and the occasional barn owl add a natural accompaniment, creating a delicate harmony between human artistry and the night itself. Passing by the inn, the bard pauses, strumming a few more notes that mix with the faint murmur of late visitors. In the village square, shadows stretch and sway as the music drifts across open spaces, touching cottages, gardens, and cobblestones alike. Each note seems carefully chosen to soothe, to awaken imagination, and to connect the village's past and present through the timeless language of melody. By the time he reaches the edge of the fields, the bard's music fades into the natural sounds of the night, rustling leaves, the river's gentle flow, and the distant call of nocturnal animals. The melody lingers in the memory of those who heard it, a soft thread of wonder tying the medieval night together. In this calm, the village seems to breathe in harmony with the music, resting peacefully under the moon's silver gaze, every soul gently cradled by the subtle artistry of sound. Beyond the village, where the moonlight spills softly over rolling pastures, a shepherd moves quietly among his flock. Cloaked in a heavy woolen mantle against the chill, he carries a small lantern, its warm glow revealing the gentle curves of the fields and the soft silhouettes of sheep grazing in the silvered grass. His staff taps lightly against the ground, a rhythm that seems to reassure both man and animal alike. The night is still, yet alive with subtle sounds. Crickets chirp in steady harmony, the wind sighs through scattered trees, and a distant owl calls across the fields. The sheep, alert to the faint noises of nocturnal life, cluster together, trusting the presence of the shepherd who has guided them for years. Each step he takes is careful, each glance attentive, ensuring that no stray lamb wanders too far or any predator slips unnoticed into the quiet pasture. The shepherd hums a low, melodic tune, a tradition passed down through generations, both to calm the animals and to keep his own spirit alert through the long night hours. Occasionally he pauses, listening to the distant village, lanterns glowing faintly, the soft hum of a night fire, and the distant song of the bard drifting from cobblestone streets. Even at this distance, the village and its people remain connected to the land, their rhythms intertwined with the natural cycles of night. A fox, alert and cautious, slinks along the edge of the field, its amber eyes reflecting the faint lantern light. The shepherd watches quietly, a subtle nod acknowledging the balance of predator and prey, knowing the fields are a stage where life continues in harmony, each creature playing its part in the quiet medieval night. Hours passed gently as the shepherd guides his flock through the pastures, ensuring that every sheep returns safely to the pen before the first hints of dawn touch the horizon. The moon hangs high, illuminating dew-specked grass and casting elongated shadows across the rolling landscape. Every movement, every sound, every breath of wind is absorbed in this calm vigil, a delicate act of care that sustains the village's life from the periphery. As he finally settles his flock, the shepherd leans on his staff and gazes back toward the sleeping village.
Lanterns twinkle faintly in the distance, the faint strains of lute music echo softly, and the entire landscape breathes in harmony. Here, in these moonlit fields, the watchful care of one man ensures the quiet balance of life, allowing the medieval night to continue undisturbed, rich with hidden stories and subtle magic.
In a small corner of the village, tucked between thatched cottages, the soft glow of candlelight spills from the window of the potter's workshop. Inside, the potter kneads clay with skilled hands, shaping vessels that will hold water, grains, and herbs for the villagers in the coming days. The faint scent of wet earth and fire from the kiln mingles, creating a comforting aroma that speaks of care, craft, and the rhythm of daily life. The potter's wheel spins steadily, and his hands move with quiet precision. Each coil of clay is molded, smoothed, and guided into shape, the wheel's rotation creating a gentle, hypnotic rhythm. Shadows dance across the walls as the flickering candlelight illuminates jars, pots, and bowls drying on wooden shelves. The work is meticulous, requiring patience, yet the potter hums softly, a tune learned long ago, keeping both mind and spirit steady through the night. Outside, the village streets are hushed. Lanterns glow faintly through foggy windows. The distant sound of an owl drifts from the forest, and the occasional murmur from the inn's last visitors adds a subtle warmth to the quiet night. The potter listens to these sounds as he works, finding comfort in the steady pulse of village life, even at this late hour. Occasionally, he pauses to check the kiln, adjusting the small fire to maintain the perfect temperature for the clay. Sparks dance briefly in the flickering light, illuminating the potter's focused expression. Each piece of pottery carries not only functionality, but also a piece of the maker's care, intention, and connection to the community. In this small workshop, the craft bridges night and day, labor and artistry, creating objects that will serve the villagers silently and reliably. Through the window, the moonlight casts silver streaks across the cobblestones, mingling with the warm glow of candlelight. The combination of natural and crafted illumination creates a scene of quiet harmony, where human hands and careful skill meet the calm of a medieval night. Finally, the potter sets a completed jug aside to cool, wiping sweat from his brow and gazing briefly out at the sleeping village. The streets, cottages, and distant fields all seem to hold their breath together, a silent acknowledgement of the care and labor that sustain the community. In the potter's small workshop, the night is alive, but gentle, a testament to the quiet diligence that keeps life flowing in this medieval village. At the edge of the village, a small cottage with ivy climbing its walls holds a warm glow from the flickering light of a hearth. Inside, the herbalist moves quietly among shelves lined with dried herbs, jars of roots, and bundles of flowers. Each ingredient carries its own scent: sweet chamomile, sharp rosemary, earthy thyme, all blending into a soothing aroma that fills the room and softens the chill of night. By candlelight, she carefully prepares remedies, grinding dried leaves into powders, steeping roots into fragrant infusions, and mixing tinctures to heal the villagers in the coming days. Her hands move with calm precision, guided by years of knowledge passed down from her ancestors. Every potion, every jar is crafted not only for physical healing, but also to offer comfort and reassurance, a quiet anchor in the lives of those she serves. Outside, the village sleeps beneath the soft moonlight. The distant water wheel turns steadily, the blacksmith's forge rests cold and dark, and the faint melody of the bard has faded into silence. Yet within the herbalist's cottage, life continues, careful and attentive. Each stir of a mortar, each pour from a small vial, is a testament to the village's quiet resilience and the unseen labor that sustains it. Occasionally, she pauses to listen for signs of need, perhaps a cough from a window, the sound of restless livestock, or the faint rustle of someone tending late chores. Each small noise is noted, understood, and incorporated into her careful work. The herbs are not only medicine, but a bridge between the natural world and the lives of the villagers, maintaining harmony between human care and the rhythms of nature. By the window, moonlight casts silver streaks across the wooden floor, illuminating bundles of herbs drying in the corners. The herbalist breathes in deeply, appreciating the stillness, the calm, and the continuity of life that threads through the village even in the deepest hours of night. Here, quiet diligence preserves health, knowledge, and tradition, ensuring that the village awakens safely with the first light of dawn. As the hour grows late, she extinguishes the candle, leaving only the gentle moonlight to illuminate her organized shelves. The remedies stand ready, silently promising care and continuity, just as the village sleeps peacefully beyond the walls, cocooned in the gentle rhythm of a medieval night, alive yet serene.